Now, as you probably read, this is going to be a double movie review. Now, I had thought that maybe I should do this as a two-parter, but then I realized that the two movies don't have really that much difference between each other, so I decided that I should review them together. So, here goes. That movie nut here with a review for the Allan Quatermain movies, King Solomon's Mines and Allan Quatermain in the Lost City of Gold, starring Richard Chamberlain and Sharon Stone. In King Solomon's Mines, a hunter called Allan Quatermain is hired by Jessie Houston, played by Sharon Stone, to find her father, who has been missing in Africa, searching for the lost mines of King Solomon. On the way, however, they must deal with Germans, a cannibal tribe, and other crazy stuff. Now, in Lost City of Gold, an old friend of Quatermain's staggers to his house and reveals that his brother went searching for a lost city of gold. Now, Quatermain, despite reluctance from his wife, Jessie, must now go after the lost trail to the city, accompanied by an Indian mystic and his old friend Slopogas, a noble African warrior. Now, the acting overall is decent in both movies, from both Stone and Chamberlain. They do make a serviceable movie couple, and they do have their share of funny moments, though Sharon will get annoying after a while with her incessant screaming. Now, the real show stealers in both movies are, of course, the villains. In the first movie, we have Herbert Lom playing a German officer, and John Rhys Davies playing a local Arab town overlord, if you will. Now, the two are absolutely fantastic to watch on screen. Two classic actors just going at each other, just calling each other idiots, morons. It is a great deal of fun to watch these two just go at it. And you can't deny, there's always something funny about two great, almost Shakespearean actors getting blown through a wall. And as for City of Gold, of course, the highlight there is the main villain played by Henry Silver, who is the city's high priest. He has perhaps one of the best villain laughs I've ever heard. It's just so maniacal, but so sort of exaggerated, like he really just felt like that was his moment. As for the natives in the cast, blacks, in the first movie we have Pompompo, who is portrayed as a very friendly but timid person who is scared of things that move. For instance, most notably, he won't ride in a car and he covers his eyes when he's traveling on a train. On the other hand, in Lost City of Gold, James Earl Jones plays Slopogas, a tough warrior who isn't scared of battle and who goes about throwing and beating up guys at every turn. And it is really, and of course, being James Earl Jones, it's just fantastic to see him go. And his deep voice does really blend into African dialect very well. Now, the action scenes in both movies are decent, I will give them that. They do have their fun moments, and they are more slapstick than they are genuinely sort of actiony and multiple cuts and all that sort of stuff. As I mentioned, the bad guys getting blown through walls, there's chases with aeroplanes, but there will also be times where it's very goofy and obviously fake, like perhaps most infamously the plane fight in King Solomon's Mines and the boat ride through the caves in Lost City of Gold, which are just so wonderfully obviously blue screen, but it's just so cheesy and funny to watch. Both films, the music was composed by Jerry Goldsmith, even though Lost City of Gold says that it was composed by Michael Mann, but in truth, Michael Mann only composed half an hour's worth of music because the studio forced him to reuse much of Goldsmith's material. And as you can expect, Goldsmith delivers as always, most notably his main theme, which, while some have said it's a clone of Indiana Jones, I say it's much more similar to Superman. I mean, just listen. It's no secret to anybody that these movies are spoofs, parodies, or, if you want to get drastic about it, rip-offs of Indiana Jones. And to be fair, the scripts do that very well. There is this sort of good blend of sort of the comedy and action. It's not overtly silly, but there are points where it does get a bit cartoony, as I mentioned, with guys getting blown through walls, you know, the giant cooking pot in the first movie, the guys getting dipped in gold in the second, you know. It can get a bit wild out there at times, but it feels very appropriate because the movie knows that it's being silly. It knows it's spoofing Indiana Jones, and it's giving its audience what it wants. It's giving them their action, the funny lines, the goofy moments. It's just got it, you know. For me, it works because, you know, whether this was a deliberate spoof or whether this was just sheer accident that the script happened to be more comedic than serious, I don't know, but it works. And anyway, the Allan Quatermain movies are based on the H. Rider Haggard novels from the 1800s, which are curiously partly the inspiration for Indiana Jones. So we have a rip-off series based on another series that was inspired by the original books, which are the source for the second pair of rip-offs. So I don't know, it comes full circle. So after much thinking, I've decided to award the Allan Quatermain movies a bronze star as a whole, because, as I said, there's not that much difference between the two movies, because in many ways, Lost City of Gold is just rehashing the same ideas as King Solomon's Mines. However, that's not to say that the movies are terrible by any means. They are very silly and goofy, and I think, and I need to make this clear, do not go into this expecting the same thing you got from Raiders and Last Crusade. Do not go into this with those expectations, because you will hate these movies. But if you go into this with the kind of thing you got from Temple of Doom, I think you'll find yourself pleasantly surprised by these two.